Carl Nelson Show.
Yes, greetings. This is Professor Griff calling in for Carl Nelson.
I was just about to call you. Please hold and I'll let Carl know you're on the line.
No problem.
Owe 15,000, and now my debt is clean. I don't owe anything.
Take Eric's advice.
If you have a tax problem, you need to call Optima Tax now.
Call Optima Tax Relief for a free consultation. Call 800-799-0977. 800-799-0977. 800-799-0977.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
WOL, Washington, D.C.
Peace, Carl. What's good?
HD3, Bethesda. WKYS, HD3, Washington. WPRS, HD3, Waldorf. And worldwide at WOLDCnews.com. Welcome to the Carl Nelson Show
On Washington, D.C.'s 1450 WOL Radio and live around the world on WOLDCnews.com.
I'm actually rolling with us, folks. Our guest is Dr. Ridley Muhammad. He's from the Nation of Islam. And momentarily, we're going to be speaking with Professor Griff. Before we go to Professor Griff, Werner calling from Michigan. Werner, your question again for Dr. Ridley?
Yes, I asked if you were familiar with I just found the article again. It was just signed today. It's called the USMCA, which is the United States, Mexico, Canada agreement, which is supposed to replace NAFTA. And this bill is going to address some farming land, actually. And I was hoping that you know something about it and how it especially would affect black farmers, because I know that our numbers are so small these days as far as land ownership goes and farming.
Okay, let me break it. I looked it up on break, and I don't see anything in there right now that relates directly to agriculture. I see they're talking about car manufacturing, etc.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the devil is in the detail.
Absolutely.
Okay, because, for instance, when Jimmy Carter was in office, he set up a program for minority farmers, for black farmers, to give them loan money at a reduced level because of the discrimination. But I in Terrell County, Georgia, and I went down to the county courthouse to the basement, and I saw that no black farmers in Terrell County got any of that money. However, white farmers got that money. And white farmers never paid the money back. So white farmers in Terrell County, Georgia, got the money that was supposed to go to black farmers, because there is a system in place where the money from the government goes to what's called the county committee. The county committee is run by big white farmers, and the county committee determines who gets the government program. And that's still in place. That has not changed. So no matter what is done in Washington, D.C., the question is what's going to happen on the ground in your local county.
Well, I heard that you went to school in Michigan, and I live in Michigan, as I stated. Debbie Dingle approached this bill that was just passed, and she's saying how it's not going to benefit Michigan at all. So, Michigan used to be a big agricultural country, and now we're down to virtually nothing, especially when it comes to black people. I know of no black farmers in Michigan anymore. Not one. Not one.
Well, what we have to be careful of is that right now they're playing a game with us, looking at Trump and the impeachment and all that. In the meantime, they're selling the land to China. They're selling goods to China. They're selling the grain elevators to China. China was
They're selling the United States to China.
Huh?
I said they're selling the United States to China.
This is correct. And Trump and his boys, they go. Not on it. Okay?
Right.
Homeboy is going to be the richest man in the world when he finishes.
Yep, that was his whole agenda. I agree with you. That's been his agenda the whole time.
In the
Well,
meantime,
thank you, Doctor. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, please.
no, in the meantime, they're producing fake meat for us.
I don't eat it, thank God. I've been a vegetarian for 30 years.
Well, I'm talking about fake meat. I ain't talking about meat. I'm talking about meat they're producing in a petri dish.
You're talking like all this processed vegan food.
No.
Soy and plant-based stuff?
No. I'm talking about they're taking a stem cell from a cow.
Oh, yeah. Cloning. Yes, I got you.
Growing it into a steak.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing that, and it's on the market. You know about KFC has a genetically produced chicken nugget that they grow in a.
I thought it was a plant-based nugget.
No, there is a fake nugget.
All right, folks, we got to run because Professor Griff is on deck. Dr. Ridley, tell us where you're going to be this weekend.
Yes, we're going to be at Muhammad Mosque number 4 at 3160 Pennsylvania Avenue Southeast from 1:30 to 5:30, and it's all about can you dig it?
Can you dig it?
Learn what's going on with your food and how you need to dig it, and help us farmers who want to dig it, so you can not have something done for you called a grave. Thank you very much for having me on the show.
And thank you for sharing that information with us. Folks, now we're going to turn our attention to entertainment. Professor Griff, welcome back to WOL Radio.
Greetings, Carl Nelson. It's a pleasure always to be back with you. How you feel, brother?
We're feeling good. How about yourself?
I'm all right. Little down because of some of the things that's going on that affect us directly. Everything affects us. Some things affect us more directly than others, but yeah, okay. I'm just kind of wrestling with it.
Work it out, brother. We know you're going to work it out.
Yep.
Let me ask you first up, though, because I sent you congratulations on the Grammy. You told me you didn't get the Grammy yet. So what's going on with that?
No. The actual celebration and the ceremony is actually going to take place in April. It wasn't supposed to take place last Sunday. They were just announcing it last Sunday.
And as soon as I mentioned it, I said congrats last Friday, and people asked me, somebody called up and asked if they want to know if you're going to go, if you're going to attend.
Yeah, I attended. I did some press. Went there and met with Flav and Terminator X. We waited on Chuck, who was a no-show, and so we just kind of did some press and met with a few people, and they contacted us about making sure that everyone was in place for April 19th. Yeah, the actual ceremony.
So did you do the actual red carpet walk and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, no. I just kind of avoided the whole red carpet thing, man. Yeah,
the reason why I'm asking, because there were some black reporters out there, and they were saying that the black artists were just avoiding them. They were going to all the white media outlets, and even the rappers, even the young ones, they wouldn't come over to the young black reporters on the red carpet. And in fact, I posted that, folks. If you're on Facebook, you check out the story that I posted. But yeah, that's why I wanted to find out if I'm sure if you would have spoken to some of our black reporters, if you were on did the red carpet thing.
Yeah, I mean, I would have spoken with them, but I think a lot of times we just kind of reluctant now about who we speak to and about what, because of the way information is handled, and social media being what social media is. It's a blessing and a curse, and it can really help you, but then again, it could really hurt you. So I think a lot of people were being very strategic about who they speak with.
Yeah. Well, we saw that with the Kobe incident too, and they were talking about Rick Fox was on that plane. Of course, a lot of stress on his family when thought he was on the plane because somebody said it and it just went viral. Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. The internet. Well, check this out, Professor Griff. Meek Mill says that the music business is a legal way for record labels to steal from young black artists. He says they're slave contracts. Is he right?
He's absolutely correct. And that's not the only industry that they do this in. And if you look right across the board, I said it just the other day to some people that were around me. I said, this whole web that they weaved, this systematic way of destroying people and exhausting you and draining your wealth is very, very intricate, man. It's almost like a spider's web, man. It's like they find ways to manipulate, control, and just drain you for, for your energy, your resources, and your wealth. So Meek Mills is absolutely correct. Just when you think.
At what point do you find this out, though? Because, I know when people are starting out in the record business, they just want to hear their record on the radio. They're just, all geeked up, and when they hear it, they're just, oh, man, they're just so happy. Do you think it's that euphoria when that wears off and you figure out this is a business and I need to get paid? Or do you go into it before you even make it?
No, I think what you said is absolutely correct. I think it's the whole euphoria, the whole idea. You're excited about hearing your song. You know this desire to be known and for your craft, and you want to get your music out there. Later on, after the honeymoon phase wears off, and you have to get down to the bare knuckles and pay some real bills and do some live a real life. That's when it hits you. And the shock of it hits you because you found out that the same person that had this same kind of energy you had and desire that you had to get the music out there for people to hear it because they think you're a great artist, all of a sudden now becomes your enemy in court. And some of the things that you've never knew that you were signing off on, you get confronted with it with a lawyer that they kind of manipulated and controlled from the beginning. And it's like, wow, so everyone was working against me. The artist is the last one to get paid. Any artist, Carl Nelson, will tell you that. Everyone else gets paid before the artist.
Wow. So, are you told that up front, though?
No.
That you guys...
No, there's a lot of things that you're not told up front. A lot of times, people have never heard of a PR person handling you. Well, what does that actually mean? Well, what is it that you handle? And then where's the money coming from to pay you?
Hold on right there, Professor Griff. We've got to take a short break here and check the traffic and weather in the DMV. Folks, you want to fight the power? Join us. Professor Griff is on the radio. Call up your friends and let them know. You can speak to him at 800-450-7876. We'll take your calls after this short break on 1450 WOL, where information is power.
Greetings, family. While we're waiting for Carl to come back off a break, because Carl Nelson is on. Carl Nelson is on terrestrial radio. So yeah, we're on the internet. All right. I'm seeing some comments in the chat. I want to thank everybody for supporting me. Of course, I avoided that red carpet thing like the plague, because y'all already know. It's a strategic way you have to move nowadays, man. It's critical. Being there was one thing. Getting your energy and your spirit involved into all of the things that go on is a whole nother thing. So I'm not sure where Carl is going to go with this particular conversation, but, I'm rolling with the punches, and I'm going to see, I'm going to follow the conversation. If he don't cover and ask the certain questions, I definitely have to bring up this whole idea of the blood sacrifice thing that I didn't want to talk about on Brother Rich's show. All right. So yeah. So thanks, Quan. I really appreciate you. Thank you to the Sirius Mindz family. Really appreciate it. Thanks for the donation. But I'm not going to put information up there that's going to exacerbate the tensions in reference to trying to move our ultimate goal. I don't want to compromise that. So thank you for the $10, but I'm not putting that information out there. If you want to take the $10 back, you can. But I'm not putting that information out there. I'm not doing this for money. We're independent media, and we want to get the information out there. I'm not going to be compromised by a few dollars. So hopefully we're going to get around to finish talking about the 62nd annual Grammy Award, Sunday, January 26, 2020, the Recording Academy. All right. So yeah.
Provided to families and children in need. Being a kid should be about using your imagination, learning, and having fun. These children shouldn't have to miss out on simply being a kid because they're hungry. To find out how you can help end childhood hunger in your community, visit feedingamerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
You know your body, and lately something doesn't feel quite right. You get plenty of sleep, but you're always tired.
Hold on one second, family.
The ache in your joints is so bad you can barely make it through the day. You push through. Sound familiar? These could be signs of
Past colleagues, stay with them.
We're here to help you take control. Learn how at BeFierceTakeControl.org. Brought to you by the Lupus Foundation of America and CDC.
1450 WOL.
I think we're back.
And then now back to the Carl Nelson Show. Washington, D.C.'s 1450 WOL Radio.
I'd like to stay with us, folks. I guess is Professor Griff from Public Enemy. He's the Minister of Information, discussing music. And, they got a Lifetime Achievement Award from the Grammys. We're going to get back to the Grammys in a moment. But we're talking about, because we just had a youngster, Professor Griff, that was 15 years old, and she's just done her first movie. She's an author, motivational speaker. She's getting into the business. And, hopefully she'll still listening. Maybe she can pick up on some advice that you can give when you started. When you started, did you select your own attorney? Did they lay out what the ropes were, what to expect? Or did any of the OGs who were in the business say, hey, guys, this is what's going down here. This is what you got to watch out for. You don't need to deal with this person or, deal with this person. Did you give that kind of advice, or were you just had to figure it out for yourself?
No, we had to figure it out for ourselves simply because Public Enemy was a different kind of group, and we were coming at the industry from a different kind of angle. And from the outstart, most people did not want to attach their brand, nor their name, nor their energy or their resources to a pro-black radical group, because the checks might stop. We were on our own. We barely knew the business. Chuck was in radio at Adelphi University. I was a DJ. Bomb Squad was into radio. I think one of the brothers from the Bomb Squad was working at a music store that sold music equipment, but we were mobile DJs. So we didn't know that aspect of the recording industry or the recording business. So we came in kind of green, Carl. Now it's a lot different because you have the internet. You have a lot more information at your fingertips. Back then we had to learn it as we went along. And we did, and we paid the price for it.
Wow. Do you guys control your product now? The masters?
Well, that's an interesting question. And let me answer it forthrightly and being very transparent. Absolutely not. I think Chuck is in court right now. Chuck actually penned a letter. When we get back to the Grammy, about the Grammy, the conversation, Chuck actually penned a letter, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But no, that kind of information and that kind of stuff is being held up in court right now on the ownership of the logo, the ownership of the actual name, Public Enemy, the ownership of merchandise, the ownership of master recordings. All of that's being held up right now.
And I guess the movie is also caught up in that as well, right?
Of course, I think Sony have pulled back on wanting to even go down that road and even looking at trying to do a movie. So I think now the best thing for the individuals to do is to trademark their own names and to either come together or do it as individuals and either sell their story or make their own movie.
Wow. Hang on a sec, Professor Griff. John is calling. This is on line one. He's calling from California. John, you're on with Professor Griff.
Hey, my name is John. I'm a YouTuber. I go by Handsome Truth. And I was a big fan of Griff. And the reason why I got hooked into what he's talking about, why I liked him, was he gave the information to the group about the secret relationship between blacks and Jews, just like Malcolm X, just like Irritated Genie, these pro-black people that are exposing Jewish supremacy in America. But now I see that Griff has stayed silent. I just donated $10 to him to address it because that's the reason why I liked him. I'm a European American, and I've seen the Jewish supremacists try to get Europeans and blacks to be at each other's throats for years. When you got Steven Spielberg making movies like Amistad and pretending it was European Christians that were behind this, when really it was Jewish supremacists that ran the transatlantic slave trade. So I want to know if when are we going to start speaking out against Jewish supremacy that run our media, banking, internet, the ADL that's trying to censor freedom of speech, and if we're ever going to come together and talk about this serious information?
Carl Nelson.
You want to tackle that?
Yes, of course, definitely. My beautiful moderator on my YouTube channel, Sirius Mindz, have blocked this individual, and I just told him a few minutes ago I will give him his $10 back. These are the kind of trolls that draw you into these particular conversations and just kind of leave you hanging. I don't know this individual, don't care to know him. Of course, everyone knows my track record and my position. If we're about the business of moving us forward and moving the conversation forward, building bridges, and begin the process of healing so this young generation coming up behind us can understand, then this is not the way to do it, the way this gentleman is approaching this conversation. If that gentleman is sincere, and he actually follows me, then he should know that March 30th and 31st, I am meeting with rabbis, and I've already met with several rabbis in the past to put programs together so we can at least begin a real meaningful dialogue and understanding what's going on with the relationship between black people and Jews, especially in the recording industry, in the music industry. So I don't know who this gentleman is, and let's not fall for the bait.
All right, we're going to move on. John, thank you for your call. Because you're right, could have been a setup call as well.
Exactly.
Let's go back to the Grammys, though.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because right before the Grammys, there was a lady who worked for the Grammys. I'm sure you saw the story. She said that it was fixed, and they fired her. And, you know, and we've been hearing this for years, that, you know, the awards, the selection of the nominees are fixed, and how the voting is fixed. And for a while, let's be real. When you guys started, you weren't consider, you actually protested the Grammys because they wouldn't have a genre for hip hop and rap. So I just want to get your thoughts about that, if the authenticity of the Grammys.
Well, my thing is from the outstart, I think there was brothers like Kool Moe Dee and other people, you know, along with Chuck D and a few other people, just kind of like, you know, saying no, if hip hop and rap. And I think Puffy had something to say about that recently. But if hip hop and rap are not going to be represented by those of us that are moving forward with it and representing it, as far as it being an authentic genre of music, then what's going on? So they handpicked a few people from the R&B genre to talk about hip hop, to represent hip hop, and we weren't going for it. And it was Chuck D's line. Who gives about a damn Grammy? You understand what I'm saying? And that line stuck in a lot of people's heads. So from the outstart, a lot of people was like, you know, we're not really doing the Grammys. And the lady that you're talking about was Deborah Dugan from the Recording Academy. I had a personal conversation with Deborah Dugan, and we talked about several things concerning that. And Deborah Dugan is absolutely correct. There's a lot of things that she was trying to put forth in reference to moving along with the diversity task force to try to deal with certain issues in the Recording Academy, which is the Grammys, and they refused to deal with it. When she contacted, I believe, Flav and Terminator, when it got around to her contacting Chuck turned around and pinned the letter and was basically letting people know that if Deborah Dugan is absolutely correct about what she's saying about the Grammys, then we need to take a serious look at it. It says Chuck D pins an open letter to the Grammys and hip hop. And then I'm not going to read the entire letter. He goes on to talks about Deborah Dugan's claim would have caught people's attention and the whole idea of it being quote unquote fixed, the disparities in it, and is not being as diverse as she would like it and how we would like it. She's absolutely on point. But because she's a white woman, a lot of people are looking at it like, why is Chuck D aligning himself with these kind of people, the same people that's keeping us out of the Grammys and these kind of things? It's just that I said, wait a minute. Why can't we align ourselves with truth? Whatever the complexion of the person is. You understand what I'm saying? So back in 1989, Chuck was protesting the Grammys. I think even before that, Kool Moe Dee and a few other people protested. But if we're going to participate in it, like we've seen over the years, droves and droves of young black artists are there at the Grammys now. I've seen Meek Mills, DJ Khaled, Lizzo. I've seen her. All kind of artists are there now. Should they not be made aware of what's going on with the Recording Academy? You understand what I'm saying, Carl?
Yeah.
And I think this is a very real dynamic, and young people need to start paying attention, because if you're in the music industry and you're moving towards wanting to have your art recognized by walking across the stage and someone handing you a Grammy, then you need to pay attention to this conversation, plain and simple. So Deborah Dugan was absolutely correct.
Is the answer then we should have our own awards?
Will black people support their own awards? There are black food trucks that are out there that black people won't support, Carl. Much. We can look at the NFL and we can see how that failed miserably. There's enough people out there. Matter of fact, there's another league that's out there. I forget the name of the league, the letters, but there's another football league out there that black people won't support as opposed to the NFL. So come on, Carl. That may sound good, but in actuality, in reality, that may not ever happen. That may not ever happen. So what tends to happen now, Carl, and I don't mean to be too wordy with this. What tends to happen now is they take people like Jay-Z and they put them as the gatekeeper and the buffer between the artists and the academy, the artists and the NFL, the artists, the players and the NFL, the artists and some of these other entities. No, thank you, Black A. Someone said it was called the XFL. And we don't even support that. So I'm just saying to you, who's next? Who's going to be the buffer now between the artists and those who actually and the Grammys and the Recording Academy? I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm just telling you straight up, Carl. I'm supporting and standing behind Deborah Dugan. Some of these things need to change. We need to kind of really truly figure out who our allies are, Carl. And this is real.
And Griff, does she tell us how they're selected? How do they select the artist and how the voting process is?
She wasn't even there long enough, Carl. When she began, she was one of the ones that got Public Enemy's name in on the list from the first place.
All right. Hold that thought right there, Professor Griff. We're going to take a short break. Folks, I guess if Professor Griff, if you want to reach him, dial us up at 800-450-7876. We'll take your calls after the short break on 1450. WOL, where information is power.
All right, now, Sirius Mindz family. You see how these dumb devils and these demons work? Now, this dude was just on here offering his little money. Then he called the Carl Nelson show.
Blood pressure,
Now,
anxiety.
you see how it works? So don't tell me I'm crazy when these people be trolling and stalking and creating this kind of drama. We witnessed it firsthand, how he was just on YouTube. Then he switched over and went to the Carl Nelson show to kick up dust, to try to bait me into this black Jewish conversation. Devils, man. Demons.
Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too.
145 92. 180 over 111. 182 over 100. And I had a heart attack and a cardiac arrest. And then a stroke.
Thanks, Quan. Really appreciate you.
Could change your life. A lot of people don't understand, including myself. I didn't, now I do. The impact of having a stroke. My memory is shot.
When I
Yeah, Quan. I'm not in 16. I'm not falling for that. I'm not falling for the bait and switch, man. You're not gonna drag me into that conversation talking about I've been silent and I've been quiet about the Jewish this and the Jewish that. Man, shut up, bro.
But I'm gonna make it better. Coming back.
And as y'all know, I haven't been quiet because I've been on here, and every time that I'm in either beginning or going to meet with Jewish people or have met with Jewish people to sit down to talk, because I have questions also. It's just not we sitting down and they questioning me. I have some serious questions also because we have a position. Plain and simple.
1450 WOL, everywhere you are, via our mobile app. And then now back.
All right, so we're back.
Washington, D.C.'s 1450 WOL radio.
most, I guess, is Professor Griff from Public Enemy. You know, he is the Minister of Information. There's a lot of information going around Public Enemy. We're going to fight the power with Professor Griff right now. You two can join us, 800-450-7876. Before we left, it was talking about the Grammys. And Griff mentioned the lady who was representing the recording industry, and I think they suspended her or what. But she talked about inconsistencies in the balloting, and she talked about the racism and sexism as well. So, Griff, I'm gonna let you finish your thought on that, because this has been whispered for years. It's been whispered about the Grammys, but nobody's really come out front like this lady did right before the show.
And I think it's very admirable of her, and I think it's very bold of her to do that, because if it wasn't someone on the inside actually doing it, how would we ever know, Carl? This is why I talked about allies. And I know I'm putting a lot on the line by saying what I'm saying on the Carl Nelson show. They may pull their Grammy back, or they may do whatever, but hey, it is what it is. She is lawyered up and accused them of not only sexual harassment, and she never says she's joining this whole Me Too thing. She's just putting it out there. And it says, "Pass, you suspend the woman that's telling the truth." We can't do that, Carl. If the truth is being told.
Let me show you this, Brother Griff. Because you remember when Stevie did Hotter Than July, I think one of his finest works ever. And before that, he was a serial Grammy winner. When they released Hotter Than July 0, and the speculation was because he had Happy Birthday to Dr. King on that album.
Right.
And it got 0. Oh, they wouldn't even give, didn't get even a nomination, unless a win. So back then, people were saying, maybe because if they would co-sign the Happy Birthday thing for Dr. King. So that's when I first heard about the possibility there may be some shenanigans going on with the voting at the Grammys. Your thoughts?
Of course. My thing is, I think what they tried to do even back then, Carl, is not to allow the Grammys to be used and that platform to be used as a political base for people to kind of launch, and not only launch, but to continue this whole idea of politicizing the Grammys. But as you and I know, Carl, from Dr. Francis Cress Welsing's work, all of the entertainment is politicized, period. Sports is politicized. Religion is politicized. So we just have to deal with it for what it is. And since Deborah Dugan spoke up and the information was now getting out, I think once the young artists grab a hold to the information, I think they're going to have to rearrange how they do things at the Academy. And I think this is very real. And if it wasn't for those kind of things happening to our artists, our elder artists, and some now ancestors, we would have never known. See, what happened then, called the red flag went up. And we said, now, wait a minute. This man gets a couple of Grammys every year. But because he mentioned Dr. King, who some places wouldn't even recognize the man and help establish a holiday, until Public Enemy went down into Arizona and made that holiday happen with our song By the Time I Get to Arizona. A lot of these places wasn't recognizing Dr. King. So then now that it's mentioned, all of a sudden you're going to snub him and deny him of even a nomination for the Grammys? Come on, stop that, man. We have to just deal with this thing and be very real on what this really is, Carl. But can I ask you a question, Carl? The importance of receiving a Grammy. Young people need to understand what the importance of receiving a Grammy actually means in the whole scope of being a recording artist. Who recognizes you once you have a Grammy? Who recognizes you once you are in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and these kind of things? So I think to young people, they need to understand it from that point of reference.
Well, is it your peers that decide if you go into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? How does that work as well?
Well, they have yes, it's your peers, and they have a committee that kind of judges, but they do have guidelines. I believe you have to have been recording for 20, 25 years. You had to have had X many songs out and that kind of thing. And in Public Enemy's case, we've done work outside of the music. So, it wasn't easy for them. But along with Donna Summer, I think Quincy Jones and a few other people we've gotten in with. Yeah. I remember that day very vividly because I got cursed out by Quincy Jones. But anyway, that's another story. Anyway.
I guess that's a story for another day. But because Q is he's old school. But anyway, Professor Griff, the fact is that when the songs that you Fight the Power, Fear of Black Planet, do you think that rankled some of the people upstairs at the Grammy, not just the Grammy people, but the record label, your record label? What do they say when you deliver products like that?
No, I think a lot of times, to be honest with you, if I could be very transparent, the young whites at Def Jam and that was surrounding us at that particular time, yo, they was like, wow, because it reminded them of the aggressiveness and the outward spokenness of punk rock. Do you understand what I'm saying? And they was like, yo, Elvis was a hero the most, and yada yada. Then the John Wayne thing, and it was like, yo, we with that. It was the older echelons of whites that weren't going for it. You tearing down their childhood idols with this kind of music you guys are putting out. And then they wrote it off like, we'll give them one album, and it's really not. It's going to fade away. And the second album was our best album. It Takes a Nation of Millions to hold us back. So it was those young whites that helped carry it forward and knock down a couple of doors from the inside out.
Now, what about the older blacks? Because I know the people in that generation, they loved you guys. But what about their parents?
No.
How do they feel about that kind of music?
No, their parents was like, no, we'd rather listen to Michael Jackson's crossover stuff and Lionel Richie and some of the softer kind of crossover stuff. And, a lot of people wanted to cross over. And it's like, no, we went the other direction. No, we wanted to agitate and shake up some things and put some issues on the table. So by the time LL Cool J was talking about I Need Love, Public Enemy was like, in your face. You understand what I'm saying? Rebel without a pause, bring the noise. Don't believe the hype. It's like, nah. Shut them down.
Well, let me ask you this, Griff. Times have changed since then. Do you think if you guys were out now and putting out that kind of product that you'd be received more welcomely?
Yes. But I think simply because with the advent of the internet, the word would spread faster. One of the highlights of me being at the Grammys was Gary Clark Jr. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him. Gary Clark Jr. is a Grammy artist, and that brother's a bad brother on that guitar, man. And he did a song called, I think, This Land. He did it with the Roots. And yeah, it's a very dynamic, hardcore, politically driven song. And I'm surprised they gave him that time on stage. I was shocked. Because if you really listen to the song, it reminded me of an old school Public Enemy song. It reminded me of Living Color. That brother is fire, man, for real.
Yeah, and we saw back in the day, the Bush spoke out about the Dixie Chicks, and sort of put a crimp in their career. Did that have when that was going on? I'm not sure the time frame if you guys were around before or after that. Did that make you guys sort of wake up and say, hey, maybe if we put out stuff like this, that they might try to squash us?
No, we were around, but I think it happened after. But I spoke on that and even wrote in my book about the Dixie Chicks, and a lot of people were surprised that I even knew who the Dixie Chicks were. And I'm like, no, if they have created the platform that they've created, and they're speaking to white America about some of the issues and some of the things that go on, kudos to the Dixie Chicks, man. More power to them. You understand what I'm saying? It's a whole other area of the human family that won't listen to Public Enemy. So the Dixie Chicks did the damn thing, and it's a beautiful thing. Like I said before, Carl, I don't really mind and don't care what mouth the truth comes out of. Let's just tell the truth and set the record straight about a few things. So if the Dixie Chicks tell it and want to correct some evils and some wrongs that's going on either at the Recording Academy or the Grammys, then so be it. Bono from U2, I had to agree and in some cases disagree when I heard Puffy recently. He's putting the Grammys on notice and giving them 1 year, 365 days. To do what? I'm just curious. I mean, I love Puffy for him taking a stand, but you giving him 365 days to do what? I'm just curious because here Puffy, I'm not ragging on Puffy. Please don't take this the wrong way. If this brother was responsible for some of the most degrading music that's been out there and some of the things that's been going on in the music industry, you don't take responsibility for that, Puffy? For you to now turn around and you gonna put someone else on notice and give them 365 days? No, I'm putting you on notice. These songs that you give the green light to, are they aiding and helping young people grow in any area of our lives? And it's like these artists that you align yourself with. It's like, come on, so you putting the Recording Academy on notice and the Grammys on notice. It's like we need to look inwardly and say, well, what can we do to make the music better? So when we actually have the conversation with the Recording Academy, we can come from a position of integrity, Carl. We can come from a position like, look.
Professor Griff, we're going to take a short break. Let's talk about that when we get back.
Yes, sir.
Join us, 800-450-7876 to speak to Professor Griff. We'll take your calls after this short break right here on 1450 WOL, where information is power.
This check on traffic.
I said to myself on Sirius Mindz platform, I wasn't going to rag on anyone. But when I first heard Puffy say that, I was shocked, man. I'm going to be honest with you. I was like, bruh, I could, and to be honest with you, I'm being transparent. I could have said that. I could have taken that from another artist other than Puffy. But Puffy? Nah, man. I am preparing a lecture right now. I don't know who it's going to offend, but I'm preparing a lecture called The Magical Negro. And I'm sure y'all can help me. Y'all know some magical Negroes. It's almost like you put the Academy on notice, 365 days to clean its act up. You need to say that to some of your peers in the music industry. No? Yes? Maybe? Somebody help me out. I'm curious. Come on, man. Come on, man. Come on. Nah, man. So Puffy changed his name to Love. You don't think the love should start from within? With us? Come on. So P. Love Diddy or Sean Love Combs? Come on. Come on. If you seriously love, start here. Sean Love Combs. Okay, Love. Start with the love right here with us as a people, man. Start with just getting some of this music more accessible to young people by having subject matter that we can build on. You understand what I'm saying? So no. I can't do that. And I'm just telling y'all straight up on a personal tip, I could have heard that and taken that from someone else other than Puffy. I kudos to Puffy for having the courage to use that platform to say that. The man spoke for 40 minutes. What was it that got Biggie killed? Was it the spirit and the vibrations and the vibration of the music and the song? What was it? What was the atmosphere surrounded by him? How did the Locks break up? How did Faith end up where she ended up? How did Brothers end up in jail off Puffy's label? Come on, man. Y'all know I already wrote about it in my book, so stop playing.
And now back to the Carl Nelson Show. Washington, D.C.'s 1450 WOL Radio.
Thanks for staying with us, folks. We're having a conversation with Professor Griff from Public Enemy. The number to call to speak to Professor Griff is 800-450-7876. We'll get back to that. Let me just remind you some of the other folks who are going to be stopping by in the next few days. We're going to hear from Ashra Quasi, also chematologist Tony Brown is going to be here. We're going to have a discussion, speaking about music, about Fela. Fela was one of the champions of Afro-pop, late Nigerian singers. If you think you know about music and you don't know Fela, you don't know music. Anyway, let's go back to Professor Griff. Professor Griff, some of the recordings that we hear some of our young people do, you know, and Dr. Wilson talked about this too quite a bit with the B's and the H's and you know, that whole putting down our women, our mothers and sisters. And I'm just wondering, why don't is that apparent in any other genre of music, or is it just ensconced into just black music? If the other folks do that kind of music as well? Because some people tell me the country people say the same thing, but do they do it to that extent?
Yeah, I think they do, but simply because we're not over on the countryside and we're not really, you know, checking for Shania Twain or some of these artists, then we don't feel the effect as much as we feel with our artists that come up from, you know, from who we are as a people in the long legacy of black music. It's almost insulting to our ancestors when we hear this, but it's in all music, Carl. We just don't experience it because it's on the other side of the fence. But it's something different when black people approach music and song in this way, simply because we've been made to think that this is the thing that you have to do in order to be successful in the music industry. Like, for example, I walked in the other night at the Grammys. We took our seat, and the first artist that came on was Lizzo. And I was just kind of taken aback because I'm not really into Lizzo. And she, you know, I was waiting for her to pull off her clothes and all this other kind of stuff. That didn't happen. But the dynamic of the lyrics that came from her, I was just kind of taken aback. I was just kind of like, wow, we still doing this? We still have to refer to one another as the N word and the H word and the W word. And I'm like, we don't have to do that. Simply because, what is the young lady's name? And please forgive me for not remembering this young lady's name that walked away with 4 or 5 Grammys the other night. Didn't have to take off any clothes. Didn't have to disrespect her mama, her grandmother, or her peers. Didn't have to, you know, curse and didn't have to do all of that and walked away with 4 or 5 Grammys. We don't have to do that, man. We can raise the vibrational pitch of the music, man. Billie Eilish. Billie Eilish is her name.
But the question is our artists encouraged to do that, or they just do feel like, trying to get attention there?
No, right now there's thousands of artists in the studio right now who feel that they have to talk about these 3 or 4 subjects in order to get quote unquote recognized or put on, so to speak. So yeah, artists that like this, for example, the reason why Old Town Road from Lil Nas X did what it did because it moved slightly to the left of those particular subject matters. And if you put it under the microscope and look at it, he still mentioned a few things in the song, but yeah, he moved slightly to the left and he was successful at doing it. And we have to understand this particular dynamic.
So when Public Enemy was coming out, did you guys get any pushback though after they figured out what kind of music you guys were putting out? Did you get any pushback from and if so, from what segment of the community?
The older, church-going, politically correct, straight-laced, quote-unquote talented, 10th, educated, older blacks gave us the most problems.
You're saying the black folks gave you the most problems?
Yes. Yeah.
How so? They felt you were embarrassing the race or something? What was behind that?
No, because they kind of felt we were too angry. Too many had a chip on our shoulder. Just did not understand what we were about. And then second album, we kind of won them over simply because younger, But you got to remember, Carl, our first tour was on a white tour with the Beastie Boys, opening up for the Beastie Boys. You got to remember, we came with gigantic license plates that said S1W with machine guns on stage. You got to remember, we spoke directly to the government with no buffer, and we called out those that buffer of black people. Some people would call them the boule or whoever today, and we actually called them out and put them on Front Street. So you have to understand. So when they pushed back, they pushed back with their white peers to see if they could get Public Enemy shut down. But they couldn't stop the bum rush, man. And it was just too infectious. And we're like, who are these guys with this noise and this funky rhythm that's speaking truth to power? And you understand what I'm saying? And yeah, it just kind of caught on. It caught on with whites, young whites especially. And it caught on with our peer group that moved it forward. We had some people even in our peer group, if you go back and listen real careful, there was radio disc jockeys disrespecting us and dissing us hard on the air live. Marley Marl, I'm not sure if you remember Marley Marl. Marley Marl was one of them.
Yeah, I remember.
He took our record off and broke it and said no more music from the suckers on live radio.
He said that on radio.
Yes, and he had to apologize for that a minute later because our second album, he had no other choice but to play it. It was just too much for him.
Let me ask you this, though, because you guys mentioned that, and that was a great marketing ploy that got you open for the Beastie Boys, because then now, all of a sudden, you've got a new audience, a new set of folks who probably never heard of you, never heard your stuff, and all of a sudden now they're liking you. I remember Prince when he tried to open for Rolling Stones, and he came out there in his bikini, and they booed him and ushered him off the stage. Because his look, they couldn't dig it. There were these rockers couldn't dig with this effeminate or adrenaline looking
right.
Black man on the stage. So, but for you guys, you sort of gelled with the Beastie Boys. Is that what happened? Why you guys are so successful?
I think that was mainly Rick Rubin's kind of thing. He was responsible for Rick Rubin, a couple of brothers from the Living Color, the group, and just Hank Shockley, Chuck, having the gutsiness and the wherewithal to hide layers and layers of samples up under the music, where it gave you that angry, aggressive, rock undertone kind of vibe in Public Enemy songs. So it was a perfect match for us to open up for the Beastie Boys at that particular time. No one knew us, Carl. No one knew Public Enemy at that time.
So I'm sure you're on stage and you're looking at a sea of white faces, and for the most part, were you kind of trying to gauge if they were digging the music, or can you tell if they were stoned or what?
No, they was really digging the music simply because it was angry and it was in your face. And this is why young whites dug Public Enemy. And then, young whites at that particular time, they were very adamant about, and they're avid readers, and they studied the music more so than we do. They was reading lyrics. They were tattooing our logo on their heads and backs and arms, and they knew every song. They knew, they was fans. They bought all of the merchandise. It was a critical thing, man, because they was just with it, man. They was just with it, and by the time we roll up to the venues, to the concerts, there's a sea full of white people waiting for Public Enemy.
I get calls all the time from folks saying that we should do something about the music that's played on the radio that denigrates our sisters, especially the women. I don't know why it's always aiming at black women. But they blame the radio station, and the radio station says, no, this is a product that the record companies give us, and the people want to hear it. So you being an artist, whose fault is it? Is it the radio stations for playing it, or is it the artists for making those records?
It's all of our fault. I think we need to create some balance. If we have the DJ or the disc jockey at the radio station and a set of songs have been put in front of him to play, we can't put it squarely on his shoulders. We can't put it squarely on the shoulders of the artists. They would not even sign some of these artists if some of these artists didn't have some of the songs that they have on their albums. Now, for example, let's look at Andre 3000 from Outkast. The brother is a very creative brother, one of the most talented brothers I know in the music industry. Did Andre 3000 have to go all the way to the left to get his talent recognized? To disrespect our people and to talk about us in the way they do in order to get played on the radio? No, not necessarily. Not necessarily. I say it's all of our fault. Record company, radio station, disc jockey, right, trickled right on down to the managers, to the PR people, and then trickled right on down to the artists who pen these kind of songs. Everyone in these needs to take a responsibility on a social level. It's like, I'm putting this song out. Do I really want to disrespect my grandmother's grandmother in this song? All right, by calling the women of today out of their names. Then how would that move in advance? Can I be creative and use another word? And we've done that in the past. Can I change the subject matter? Can I talk about different? There's a myriad of things that we can write and talk about. The last song I put out, this whole idea of being frustrated in just everyday life. We've all have said the words "goddamn." And I said to myself, okay, that's a concept I want to talk about. And all of the things that I went through and have went through in the course of a day or a week or a month, I put into that song. I said, maybe somebody can relate. Maybe someone can relate.
And how did it do?
Well, when you say how did it do, I'm not tied to a radio station. I'm not tied to a record company. I'm not tied to a PR person. I'm tied to a handful of individuals that want to take my song and place them in commercials, movies, film, documentary films. That's where I'm headed. I'm not looking to be, really on anybody's stage or getting pats on the back, or I'm 60. I'll be 60 this year, Carl. My songs now are my lectures. I've taken my lectures now and said, okay, I'm gonna put some music behind what I want to talk about and make it happen. If it can touch some people and reach some people, then invite me to the juvenile detention center. Invite me down to help feed the homeless. Invite me down so I can do my part and my share to correct this problem.
You know, we're kind of on a break here, so when we come back, I want you to tell us if the distribution as far as the music is concerned has changed now. We know we're in the digital age where, back in the days when we were queuing up records and playing, albums in 45s. I go back that far. But now it's all download and everything's digital. What does this mean for the artist? Is it more money for you? Because it seems like the middleman is not in the picture anymore. I'll let you talk about that after we take the short break.
No
right
problem.
Here on 1450 WOL, where information is power.
All right. As y'all already know, I'm not one of those kind of individuals that look for numbers. I can check right now to see how many people watch the video if I go on YouTube, but I don't know. You understand what I'm saying? I've shifted my focus from looking for. We have to understand something. Alex, you need to understand, and some of the other artists that are on here, that's on the platform, and they may hear this. Younger people are there that are sitting as gatekeepers to determine how many people hear your song, to determine whether or not you get on tour, to determine these things. Who's green lighting the article in a newspaper or magazine or e-mag online? I'm not playing that game with these people, man. I'm just not. I'm really not. I'm putting the music out there. Whoever gravitates towards it, like I told y'all before, if it's 10 people, I'm good. As y'all noticed already, my 2 songs I didn't even put up for sale yet, and I'm signed on DistroKid. I didn't put them up for download yet. I don't want to play that game with these people, man. If I'm going to take control of my music and my career and my catalog from age 60 forward, yeah, I'm not playing that game. I'm going to own my masters. I'm going to own my music, and I'm going to pass it down to my children.
Welcome to the Carl Nelson Show on Washington, D.C.'s 1450 WOL radio and live around
Sophie
the
B,
world
peace. What's good with you?
WOLDCnews.com.
6 o'clock in Washington, D.C. Our guest is Professor Griff from Public Enemy. He's the Minister of Information for the group. Number to call, we're talking about music, entertainment, if you will, at 800-450-7876. And Griff, before we left, the question I posed to you was the fact that now the distribution of music has changed now. We've got about a handful of record labels left. So is that changed the way how money is made now for the artist? It seems like the middleman is cut out. How do you see that? What's going on right now with music industry?
Well, I've said years ago, Carl, that the communication companies were either going to create other companies or have subsidiaries shift into the digital download business, so to speak. Let's not forget, Carl, the same people that have made money on us every time we change the format are the same people that are in place. And you could swap out a few people. Some people came, and some people went. Some people are still in place. But when you're talking about being Spotify, being in bed with the car company, so when you buy the new car, automatically you get Spotify or you get XM radio. When you buy the new iPhone now, you automatically get iTunes. Or when you buy the new this, you get from T-Mobile, you might get a service for a year. All of them are in cahoots and in bed with one another. That's not necessarily a bad thing. But who is keeping track and a proper accounting on how many is sold or downloaded, and then where you are allowing it to be downloaded? That is the question now. So we need to kind of find a way as artists to keep track of how these companies now are taking our music and having it up for download, and we only seeing less than half of a percent. So if you take a penny and you chop it up 18 times, that's how much the artist will see. So when you
is there a way, Professor Griff, is there a way for, even back in the day when they were, spinning records, was there a way to tabulate how much money you really made? How much your record really sold? They give you one of these gold records and said you sold 1 million copies. Out of the dollar, if you sell 1 million copies and say that the record is $1, what percentage of that goes to the artist?
Well, you're talking about back in the day. To be very honest, it depends on your contract. That's number one. Number two, even if you had a 50-50 split with the record company is taking back all of the money that they spent out off the top. It has to be recouped. And that's another aspect of this thing. You don't know what you're spending out if you don't have someone that knows accounting. And I think, early on with Public Enemy, that was my job, Carl. And so by the time I did the numbers at the end of the year and we started the next album, it was almost like they were saying we were owing X, Y, and Z. And I was like, no, we don't. Because we paid for this, we paid for that, we paid for this. You guys gave us $14,000 to make an entire album. We cut corners, called in favors, did what we had to do. So the artists today probably have less of a chance than the Chuck Berrys and the Sam Cookes and the James Browns and the Ray Charles. Because it's global now. The language, Carl, in the contracts have changed. They have global rights, Carl. They have rights for Mars and Pluto. Oh, they said Pluto wasn't a planet. Hold on. Mars and Neptune or whatever. The new planets.
Yeah, but how can you tell if your record is spinning twice in Bolivia, 4 times in Australia, 2 in Italy? How can you, you trust the ASCAP and BMI
No.
for their accounting?
No, an artist shouldn't. So to answer your question is an age-old question that we're still trying to find the answer to, Carl. Right now, I could jump in, I can get on the plane, and Delta has their own radio station. And there's songs being played while you're sitting on the plane waiting for the plane is taxiing and you're hearing music. How do we keep track of that? How do we keep track of music that's being played on airlines, period? How amusement parks, video games, how do you keep track of this stuff? Commercials. The last song that I've gotten paid for, and I know I'm being very too transparent right now. I'm scared to say, Carl, but I've received a check of $5,000 in which I had to pay someone 20% of that, of this one of my songs that ended up on the network Epic in a movie called Get Shorty. That's it. One-time fee. The song is in the movie. That's it. It's in the movie for a minute. No, 36 seconds, I believe. 36 seconds. Yeah.
Because I heard the reggae guys who did the song "Bad Boys," and they used that in the movie Cops. And they used it too in the movie with Will Smith. They should be rolling in dough. And I found out it's not so. They got beat.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait a minute.
But you would think that there would be people on your side, managers, lawyers, accountants, to look out for the interests of the artists, and they don't. I can't call anyone back in the day. I couldn't have called anyone at Napster. Chuck could have. I can't call anyone at SoundCloud or Amazon Music or some of these other places, man, to make sure the accounting is right. I'm still in contact with Universal Records, trying to figure out where my royalties for my 3-4 albums that I put out. And here I am, a 60-year-old artist, still trying to do the math, Carl. So I volunteered.
I was going to ask, is this where Michael sort of woke up one day and figured out that he was getting beat?
Michael Jackson woke up a long time ago because he pulled the lesson from the page of Sam Cooke. He pulled the lesson from the page of Ray Charles. And he says, no, I'm not going to get beat and taken advantage of in that way. So he went and started doing lectures and talks. And he outright called Sony, Tommy Mottola, and the rest of them, outright called them devils. Shortly after that, Michael Jackson was gone.
Yep. Sad.
Yep. So,
hang on, Griff.
Okay.
800-450-7876. Damien is joining us. He's calling from New York. He's on line 1. Damien, you're on with Professor Griff.
Yes, Carl, peace to you and peace to my fellow Long Island brother, Professor Griff. First, I want to make a comment. It was Mr. Magic that opened the mic. It's No More Music by the Suckers.
Yeah.
Ma was spinning the records and Mr. Magic back in the
Yeah, Mr. Magic, right. Okay. Thank you.
No worries. And you had, years ago, worked with an artist many people may know of named Cannabis, who is easily one of the best lyricists I ever heard. I'm sure you could say the same thing. After Cannabis worked with Professor Griff, he kind of disappeared from the business. So what can you tell us about what happened to Cannabis and why his career in music was just cut short?
I think me and Cannabis got together because we wanted to bring attention to this whole idea of melanin and how drugs affect the 12 melanated stems, the 12 melanated centers. It was a deep subject. And me trying to come together with Cannabis at that time, it was a struggle for me because he is probably 10 times better MC than I can ever be. But I think what we put down as far as what we wrote was a beautiful thing. And you're absolutely correct. After I did that song with Cannabis, some people heard it. I heard it a couple of times on the radio. Shortly after that, they took it off the air, and I've never heard from Cannabis since. And that's just the truth. I've never heard from him. To this day, I haven't heard from Cannabis.
Wow. Yeah, I don't know how. I search his name. I can't find anything on Cannabis now. He just told me this shit.
Right.
That's crazy. Well, that was my question. Carl, you do an excellent job, brother.
Thanks, Damien. Thanks for your call. Professor Griff, there was some, on the internet, they talked about there was this secret meeting with the record company heads, and they decided they were going to, start putting out music using our artists, people who look like us, putting down our sisters and the black race in general. And that's when the gangster rap started. Is there any truth to that?
There is some truth to that, but
I'm sure you probably heard that.
But the mentality of the whole quote unquote gangster rapper was way before that, Carl. I think what they did was they saw it bubbling up and bubbling under. And then what they did at that particular time, they decided to steer this thing in the direction that they wanted to steer it in, simply because they had invested interest in private prisons. They had invested interest in the drug trade. They had invested interest in a lot of these different entities that the rappers were already talking about. So they said, wow, why don't we just take advantage of this and get it and move it and move it forward in a very intentional kind of way. And when I got a hold of the letter and read the letter and then start comparing it to everything that was going on at the particular time and start identifying some of the artists, I said, wow, this is actually true. This is why it was very necessary for Puffy in 2020 to add love to his name. Because all of the damage that we have done, he should be calling himself Sean Love Combs. Before you go and you accept a special Grammy award, and you put the Grammys on notice. So this unsigned letter that was put out included some of the artists that we hold and producers that we hold very dear to our hearts right now as we speak.
Hang on a second, Professor Griff. This is interesting. We got to take a short break. I want to break your rhythm, so to speak, since we're talking about music. I'll let you finish your thought on the other side. Folks, you too can join us. We're speaking with Professor Griff from Public Enemy right here on 1450 WOL, where information is power.
All right, Sirius Mindz family, I want to get back with y'all. I want to thank everyone for the donation. I'm not checking out. We still got another 45 minutes. Carl wanted me on for 2 hours. And as I let y'all know that I wasn't doing 2 and 3 hour lectures and interviews and that kind of stuff anymore. But Carl Nelson is one of them individuals that always supported me. I went down at the behest of Carl Nelson. She's going to kill me for not remembering her name. It'll come to me in a minute. We went down and we spoke at a church and a couple of other places to speak to young people, because in Florida, there were so many young people getting murdered. So I had to go down and say something to bring attention to it. But I've gotten some very disrespectful comments. And Quan, I think you know what those comments are in reference to why was I at the Grammys in the first place? Why was I wearing what I was wearing, and why was my wife wearing what she was wearing? And I think my wife responded to a few of those things, but I paid no attention to it. So I just ignored the things that were said, because if we don't know by now, we have to be in some of these places in order to get the information and bring it to our people. Come on. Yeah. Even when I did what I said on Brother Rich's show and sent Brother Rich some of the pictures, people were just acting crazy. It was like, wow, you let your wife come out of the house like that? I'm like, I don't control my wife. She's my wife. I don't own her. Just so that y'all know, I picked that dress out because I thought the dress was fly. Oh, shoot, we back. Hold on. Get back with that in a minute.
1450 WOL WOL Radio.
Tonight's staying with us, folks. Our guest is Professor Griff from Public Enemy. He is the Minister of Information, the brains, I would say, behind the group. Number to call to speak to, the lines are wide open. It's 800-450-7876. And just say this, Griff will talk about some stuff in the music industry. A lot of folks in the music industry won't talk about it. They won't admit to it. They just, as Dr. Wilson said, it's a system of racism and white supremacy. They're just trying to get a big seat in the system. So before we left, we were talking about this meeting, this secret meeting they had. I think it was in Beverly Hills, where they decided that they're going to put out this gangster rap or this music that denigrates our people, and they were going to use our people who look like us to do it. So, Griff, I'm going to let you finish telling us the rest of that story.
Yeah, they wanted to focus in on this whole idea of they call themselves the decision makers. And this whole idea of this music that was slowly starting to surface between the 80s and the 90s. What they decided to do in the 90s is actually take this particular music and criminalize the music, because they were in bed and doing business with these new technologies that they had access to. They had access to the media, so they were able to steer and persuade people to quote unquote like the music. They would set certain trends in motion by promoting certain artists and giving favor to certain artists, putting them on TV and green lighting videos and just making these artists that didn't have as much talent as other artists, but they gave them a wider platform. So the meeting that took place at a private residence right on the outskirts of Los Angeles, and there was only about 30 people there, Carl. And what they decided to do at this particular meeting was actually criminalize rap music. So much so that they would promote certain artists and certain themes and certain subject matter. And that's the thing that we experienced throughout the 90s. So you find artists with a little bit of talent, but maximum exposure. Black Dot said it best. It said they take the lowest aspects of our culture and they give it maximum exposure. So, but the gentleman that leaked this particular anonymous letter got kicked out of the meeting because he says he cannot believe that we're having this conversation about steering young people into private prisons to fill the prison cells. And he says he didn't disclose what this thing was about because they threatened his life. Later on, he had put the information out there when he felt it was safe, but this was years later. So much so, Carl, that he was one of the ones that sat back and watched it happen. And he said, wow, this is the thing that they were talking about in this private meeting on how to criminalize rap music. And people can find it online, the secret meeting that changed rap music and destroyed a generation.
Wow. Griff, will anybody look like us, or was it just white folks in that?
No. No, these were the decision makers. So it was almost half and half. Some of those people that you see that are quote unquote rich now were some of the ones at the meeting. I'm not gonna mention no names, but you know who I'm talking about. They were the ones. Yeah. They were the ones that actually benefited from this whole idea of gangster rap and the dumbing down of a whole entire generation and criminalizing an entire generation.
Well, tell me something. That East Coast, West Coast rap, was that manufactured or was that sort of just happened organically?
Manufactured. Quincy Jones's son, I'm not mentioning no names, put out a series of DVDs called Beef. And this is one of the tools that they use to keep the flame lit. And I put it in my book, The Psychological Covert War on Hip Hop, on how they laid the plan out. How they laid the plan out based on this secret meeting and who were some of the players. So you start to find robbery crews that was robbing, that went from robbing drug dealers to robbing recording artists. But then no one reporting it. Then you're talking about this whole snitch culture. Then you're talking about this whole not snitching. Then you had documentary films that came out called Rap Sheets and other documentary films that they had paid young white boys to produce and make these films that kept the flame lit. Manufactured beefs between this artist and that artist. Documentary films came out called Black and Blue because the police departments were put on notice and put on alert that these artists was participating in these kind of activities. all because of this private secret meeting that criminalized hip hop.
So who benefited from this? Who made money out of this deal?
The record labels made the money. The film producers made the money. The video makers made the money. Record labels, of course, globally made the money. While we went to funerals, they was having celebrations. So then when in my book, The Psychological Covert War on Hip Hop, when I started talking about blood sacrifice, we linked it back to certain times of the year, how they pull off these particular blood rituals and how certain people would have to be sacrificed and certain people died. And sure enough, Whitney Houston during this time passed away. Kobe Bryant at this time passed away. And I can give you a few other people.
Yeah, I've heard that. I heard that too about Kobe, sacrifices. Usually you have to sacrifice somebody in your family or somebody close to you, correct?
Correct, but when you look at these kind of trends and this, you know, even if you're not a conspiratorial kind of dude or person, you can't ignore some of the facts. Pimping became really big in the music industry. Why? Because of this secret meeting. Thug rap, being a gangster, being a thug, became popular. And who are the ones that was propelled? Those that took on that spirit and that mentality. So when John Patash came forward with his book, The FBI's War on Tupac Shakur and Black Leadership, they had to hurry up and silence that kind of information because he was telling too much truth in his book. When Gary Webb, the movie about Gary Webb came out, that had to be silenced real quick because it interrupted the agenda. So when William Cooper talked in Behold the Pale Horse about the manufacturing and putting guns and drugs in the black community, they had to take William Cooper out. Because all of this is a diabolical plan aimed and geared towards black people. Now, I know a lot of people want to deny that, Carl, because...
I know you've been under attack as well.
Exactly. Personally. You know, even though I was friends with NWA, even though having to pull their coat on some things and letting them know, look, man, this is not a game. They're going to come. And then years and years and years later, having to warn people on YouTube, even people like Cat Williams, I warned. I said, they coming after you, man. And sure enough, they have. I tried to put those things out to a few other artists, but they wouldn't listen. So I just kind of pulled back to protect my own life. Because when you get shot at and a house burned down and get poisoned, that's enough being put on notice for me, Carl. Wouldn't it be for you?
You sure would. And that car accident, right?
Exactly. So I'm like, okay. But when books like Dancing with the Devil comes out about Puffy and about Bad Boy, and when other books are being written and documentary films are being put out there, come on, man. You cannot, Hip Hop Cops documentary film, you can't ignore this stuff. It's just too much information out there. And it's not even hidden, Carl. It's out there for anyone to read.
You know, one of the things that Steve Coakley told me, he says when they're coming after you, they usually come after your family first. That's the dead giveaway that they start with your old lady, and as he was telling me, you know, they start there and they work down to the kids. So once you see them start tripping, you best believe that they're coming after you. He was telling me this before he died, and you know, shortly after he did. So there is some credence to what you're saying, brother, because I know that they've come after you as well.
Exactly. So if I talk a little bit too much, they'll dig up some old flame from back in the day and says, oh yeah, he did this and he did that, or whatever, or send the alphabet boys after you. Well, let's pull up his tax statement. So let's do this. It's like, come on, it's the same old trick over and over and over and over. An older gentleman says, Professor Griff, don't worry about that. Everybody I know owe the IRS. It's like, okay, you set up the plan, you pay him, and you move on, man.
Yep.
That's all you can do, man.
I talk to you, Griff. 800-450-7876 on line 2. Everlasting is calling from Alabama. Everlasting, you're on with Professor Griff.
Everlasting.
Hey, what's up, Carl Nelson Griff? I just want to say right quick before I say something. I'm from Queens, and I used to come out to Centennial Park and roll the days.
All right.
All out there, so you know, I'm very familiar with had very few, on the radio stations and, Hofstra and I suppose the jams that you always give at Hofstra and CW Post and all that. But anyway, here's the thing, Griff. Back when we would come up, a lot of things wouldn't have, I know times have changed so much, but it wouldn't be like it is now. See, and I'm really concerned about in hip-hop these days with this, it's a feminine thing. These guys wearing these purses, these dresses and all that, and then they say that, okay, well, that's their thing, but look what it's doing to the minds of the youth. See, and then feminizing the young youth, the men who we need to be, to grow up, to rear them as being men. This is why you see they're so emotional now, they're so sensitive, and then how are we ever going to, my question to you is that if we keep allowing this stuff to happen, I know times have changed, when we was coming up, that wouldn't have happened. But anyway, how are we going to rear our youth to be prepared to go fight against white domination and to be able to be successful to fight against that? If all this effeminate things are just actions, all they're doing is just succumbing to white domination. And then one last thing I want to say is that what I liked about Public Enemy so much is y'all were fearless. See, you didn't have any fear of the government, J. Edgar Hoover. I remember y'all talked about J, all that, but y'all didn't have any fear. And I think the reason why people were skeptical about dealing with y'all because, see, they knew one thing. Y'all had them S1W. See, they didn't really want to deal with that.
The what? Right.
Hang on a second, fellas. We're going to take a short break. Everlasting, stay with us. Calling us from Alabama. Folks, you too can join this conversation. We have Professor Griff. Reach out to us at 800-450-7876. We'll take your calls after a short break. Right here, 1450 WOL. Information power.
Hold on. And you on, too. Hold on. I don't want to be on camera, Griff. All right, you're not on camera. No,
I was listening to they went to break.
Hey, bro, you ain't gotta do all of that. I'm putting you back on camera.
You cannot. Hey.
Huh?
My story be fine. She said, I thought that was too long.
What?
And the hand was up in the hand.
That thing is that little. Tell a story. You wait. Tell a story. Wait till I see it. All right, close that for me. All right, thanks. Huh? Oh, you want to give it to a homeless person or something? Yeah.
Hey, are you sure you're okay to drive? Yeah.
She said she wasn't going to use the toothpaste, she was going to use the toothbrush. She said maybe with the bristles.
The bristles come from pigs. They take pig hair and they make the bristles. Yeah. Right. I'm sorry about that. I forgot what I was going to talk to y'all about. What was I saying, Quan? If you're a dad and a granddad, you just gotta, yeah. My day was interrupted when someone shouted. Have we ever talked about this secret meeting that changed hip hop on the platform here? Can someone let me know? Because I'm reading it now and it's like mind numbing.
Sexual harassment by anyone associated with your housing isn't just wrong, it's against the law.
Show the chat room Soleil's dress. Hold on. I think I can show the chat room Soleil's dress. Hold up. Let me see if I can find her dress. Damn.
Fair housing. The law is on your side. To learn more, visit hub.gov/fair housing. That's hub.gov/fair housing.
Can I? I don't. Hold on.
A public service message from HUD
Photos.
in partnership with the National Fair Housing Alliance.
Whoa.
1450 WOL.
That's a bad dress there.
And now back to the Carl Nelson Show. Washington, D.C.'s 1450.
All right, we're back. Hold on.
And thanks for staying with us, folks. Our guest is from Public Enemy, Professor Griff. He's the Minister of Information and just were awarded a Lifetime Achievement Award from the Grammys. Number to call, speak to Brother Griff, 800-450-7876. Before we left, we're speaking with Everlasting callers from Alabama. So, Everlasting, I'll let you finish your question or your comment for Brother Griff.
Okay, yeah, I'll tell you right quick, yeah. And the reason why people didn't want to mess with Public Enemy back then, I mean, it wasn't absolute, but they didn't want to mess with them S1Ws because them cats were serious. They wasn't playing. They wasn't smiling. And people knew if you tried anything with Griff or Flav, the Flav and Chuck and them, you was gonna have problems. So that was, you know, recognize that you had to have a security team behind it. And last but not least, I just want to say one more. The last thing I want to say right quickly. My question is, what can be done about, because it's really out of hand with this feminization and this with the influence it has on these young black youth. And what do you think that can be done in order for us to try to curb that a little bit, or that influence, and try to put the influence to the side and come back with a more pro-black, strong manly manhood influence, so these young teenagers can be reared in a way that we're going to need them to be able to fight white domination in the future.
Well, I think, Everlasting, I think you said something earlier about a lot of people say, you know, that's their own thing. Well, when you look deeper into it, it's really not their own thing. We do not set the trends, the fashion trends that go on. We didn't set that agenda in motion. I think we need to get back and tap back into what the ancestors have given us, what the elders continue to give us. We have to tap back into that body of work and that knowledge that grounded us. The same information that grandma used to give us. Do you understand what I'm saying? So regardless of what comes down the pipe at me, my children, and the people that surround me, those kind of things won't affect us. You know, regardless of what the agenda is. You understand what I'm saying? It's a lot larger. It's a lot larger conversation that we could probably deal with now, because I'm sure you see it in your family. I definitely see it in mine. And I handle it with kid gloves, because all of them are our people. You understand what I'm saying? Because we can't throw them out, the baby out with the bathwater. We can't throw away the uncle that's still an alcoholic, and the distant cousin and the nephew that's on drugs right now. We can't throw them away. They're our people. We have to love them, and we have to come up with a way to communicate with them to see if we can get them some help. This is why it's so very important that we begin to put things in place at the core of the family and of who we are. So when things like this come down the pipe, we won't get, like, for example, I had a couple of crackheads in my family, and we just had to deal with that and get them some help. There were some healers and some elders in the community that gave them the help that they need. So it is with this situation, with the effeminization of the African male.
Let me jump in here. Griff, is it deliberate, or is it just a fashion or trend?
I think it's both, Carl. There's always been those kind of fashion statements that these fashion, quote unquote, fashion designers and icons make, but men were manly men that wore these things. You understand what I'm saying? Now it almost seems like it's a mindset that comes with the dress, the way they dress, and it's a mindset. But the idea of creating an environment in a safe space, Carl, to have the conversation is paramount. We have to be able to bring them in a safe space in order to talk.
Everlasting, got a follow-up?
Yeah, that's exactly what my point was, Griff. You know, like I said, not throwing it away, but how we're gonna take that energy and
right.
Move it to a different direction that we'll be prepared to go see. Because what's coming up there, and we're not gonna have these youth because we're gonna need them to go out there and successfully fight this white. I don't call it white supremacy. I call it white domination. We're gonna be in a world of trouble. And I'm not saying that, okay, well, we have to destroy them or anything, but because, you know, when we used to come, not on our watch, because right now it's too sad. I say we're winning the war, but we're losing the war right now. And then with these youth following this trend, I'm saying they're coming up, like I said, they're too sensitive, they're too emotional. They can't, you got to be able to handle these things, because the emotions, you can't let them supersede your intelligence.
Right.
Like you said, what we have to be done. You have to come up with something to get together to talk with. Hold up. I understand this feminine thing is going on, but we have to switch this paradigm, because it's affecting the youth.
Right.
And see, once it affects the youth like that, and once they come up and they're not going to be prepared to go out there and fight white domination, because nobody's going to get rid of them in a way that they're going to be so sensitive, and then they're going to get crushed. See?
Right. So we have to understand. It's in the.
That's interesting what's going on, and you're both correct. But do you think they sat down somewhere and says, you know, this is a way? Because Dr. Wilson mentions it. But do you think they got together, had a meeting somewhere, and says, hey, we want to feminize the black community, so especially the black male, so we can dominate them?
Of course. Yes, they had, because it wasn't coming like Griff. Like Griff, I tell you, when we was coming up, you didn't see none of that. See, I just turned 60. I'll be 61 in June. Okay, so when we was coming up, it wasn't. You didn't see this, and not that we wasn't having it because we were interested in strong black men. We did our thing. We wasn't no angels, but we had strong black men. We had morals and principles, and we wouldn't succumb to things like that. I don't care, like you said, I don't care what the influence was. We wasn't going that direction. But I understand now things are a little different, whatever. But at some point, we have to step up a little bit and say, "Oh, you can't keep let them. You go that direction. You are doing something about it." I'm not saying you're going to be successful, but there's something that has to be done more than just say, "Well, just let them do their thing." Something a little bit more has to be done than just talk about let them do their thing. That's what I'm saying.
All right, Gotcha. Thanks, Everlasting.
Okay,
Professor, if you want to comment.
No. I wholeheartedly agree, but I do have to kind of put it under the microscope and at least ask the question, is it deliberate? Was this done on purpose? And I have to look, I put aspects of it in my book about hip hop. And it's still under the microscope.
All right. 800-450-7876. GC's on line 4 calling from Maryland. GC, you're on with Professor Griff.
Hey, how you doing, Carl? How you doing, Professor Griff?
Greetings. How you doing?
For a long time.
Give thanks.
I want to piggyback off the other call, and then I have
veggie back. We don't do the pig. Veggie back. We'll veggie back off of it.
Hello?
Got that. I said veggie back. He went over his head. He missed it. Veggie back.
Oh yeah. Okay, my bad. All right, we're gonna vegan back then.
All right.
Stay out that swine. I just want to caveat what the other caller was saying. I've been listening to your show for a few years now, Carl, and they talk about the feminization of the black male, and what it is that you got it from all. You have this from all aspects, from the political arena through our music, all the way to everybody. They talk about this toxic masculinity, which is just basically being a basic man, protecting your family. And no other culture has this.
I'll put them on mute. Yeah, the book is available. Quan will let you know where to get it from. Hit me up directly. My email address.
I think
on my website, you get it.
No, I won't say our music. I don't listen to hip hop like that anymore, but I think a lot of it is instruction.
We take them off mute.
I've said this before. This is how they want us to. This is how they want us to behave. This is how they want us to act. And the other thing I wanted to touch on, Professor Griff, you touched on it earlier without saying any names, but there was a HBO documentary out a few years back called The Defiant Ones, with Dr. Dre and I forgot that producer. I forgot his name. If you don't want to bring it up, we won't talk about it. But I encourage everyone to go back and take a look at this, because what you're saying, without them saying it, is exactly what happened. And they talk about the East Coast, West Coast beefs, wars, all the way up until Tupac passed away. And then they talked about these guys who look like they never listened to rap in their life. First, the politicians like Bob Dole, and those guys were, like criminalizing rap music. Then all of a sudden, these guys said, "Hey, we got something here. Why do you have so much interest in it?" That was my question then, and I said, "Well, it must be, steering these guys towards the prison industry, and just like immoral behavior." Okay. I just want to get your comments on that.
Well, not necessarily the prison industry at that particular time. Then it was drugs. You understand what I'm saying? So it's different agendas at different time, all leading to the same goal. And there is someone that's orchestrating it. And it seems like we're always the victim. The war on education was really a war on black people, because we got dumbed down during that period. The war on crime. There was more criminals than ever that was produced in different kinds of crimes. So yeah, when you look at it, but let me speak to another aspect of that. The idea of someone coming along and saying that sounds too much like a conspiracy theory. if I said there's a link between the uprisings in Hong Kong and this coronavirus. There's a link between the 2020 presidential elections and this kind of thing, and Kobe Bryant's connection with the brawl that happened between Kansas City State and Kansas. And to link all of this stuff in and to make valid points, they will literally write you off like you crazy and say, yeah, he's lost his mind. And then later on, a couple of years now, when it turns out to be true, they say, okay, yeah, Professor Griff was right. And I'm like, come on, man. Come on.
Hold that thought right there, Professor Griff. We got to take a short break.
T-Mobile. Switch to T-Mobile and get 2 lines for just $90 and 2 new iPhone 11s on us, so you can FaceTime about a thing or two. What do you want to do? What do you want to do? Take a portrait bill for 2 with the ultra-wide camera.
My eyes closed. One more.
Okay. Or with all-day battery life, you can play that game. Play again.
All right. I'll be here again.
And this one.
Nah, 16, I can't go that deep. I know what you mean, 16. I feel your energy, but yeah, if I go that deep, I'm in trouble. For real. Now, Quan, you asked me to show the family the picture. I show the family the picture, but you see what kind of energy comes from men? And we don't know if it's a man or a woman hiding behind a man's name, trolling. But yeah, I don't even know. My wife presented me with 3 dresses. Yeah, that's cool. That's all right. But nah, that blue one, yeah. I don't know. I don't know who people think. I don't know who people think we are. And they're supposed to dictate because, I don't know. I decided to put on brown this morning. I didn't have anyone come dress me. I'm thinking she picked the black jacket for me. I wanted to get it tailored and altered and cut up. She says, nah, man. No, she says, that's fine. I said, all right, well. I said the dress is fly to me. And she says, what do you, I don't care what people are going to say. You're not their wife, you're mine. You understand what I'm saying? I'm not their husband. Yeah.
Because character is invisible until it's not. Find out how you can strengthen the character of your community.
Nah, I'm good. So to all of the brothers with the lip service and got something to say, I got this. I got married August 27th, 2017. You weren't there. So mind yours.
1450 WOL Radio.
Thanks for rolling with us, folks. Our guest is Professor Griff from Public Enemy. He just got his group actually won an award from the Grammys, a Lifetime Achievement Award from the Grammys. He's here. We're talking about music. We'll get back to him in a moment. Just wanted to let you know some of the other folks are going to be here in the next few days. Brother Ashwa Kwesi and his queen, Mary Ron Kwesi, are going to join us. Also, Egyptologist Tony Browder. And we're going to talk, since we're talking about music, we're going to talk about Fela. This is a Nigerian musician, one of the best in the world. I mean, at his funeral, people were talking about Kobe's funeral. They were trying to move it to the Coliseum that holds 100,000 people. There's 1 million people turned out for Fela's funeral. He's founder of Afro-pop. So we're going to talk about that coming up. So if you're in the DMV, tell your friends to keep their radios locked on 1450 WOL. Let's go back to GC, Maryland. Actually, it was Professor Griff was responding to GC's question.
Yeah. And I got one more after that.
No. Go ahead. We can wrap it up with what you have to say.
Okay, so you got one of the most popular old school rappers, like he's in everything right now, promoting, like weed. Like a lot of our music has a lot of heavy drug use content in it. And now weed is being legalized in a lot of states, a lot of cities, a lot of districts. And I don't know, I mean, I don't trust, I wouldn't, I can't I don't, smoke weed or indulge in anything like that. But do you think, with all the dispensaries and everything in it now, that this stuff is not like it was when we was coming up? It's like probably genetically modified, engineered, and I heard that it may lower testosterone levels in males and raise estrogen levels. That could be a lot of what's happening.
Well, I think the best person that we can talk to about that is Dr. Wesley Muhammad. But you're absolutely correct. But anyway, I'm the wrong one to ask about that because I've never tested the weed today or yesterday. So I've never smoked a day in my life. Now, I do see the effects.
You can smell it, though. You can tell, by the way it smells. Don't smell the same as it did back in the day.
To be honest with you, bro, I feel you, and I really want to have this conversation, but I'm not sitting around smelling nobody's weed, man. When I see it happening, I go the other direction, man. I've been a martial arts guy all my life. I've been into health. I've been into being in my right mind. Yeah, so, yeah. That there's some stats that I do have about the weed content because I've been touring with Wesley Muhammad and having that conversation. But yeah, I really think it's a situation where we really truly need to not trust anything that anyone says, especially the government, until we look into it for ourselves. I think that would be the safest thing to do.
All right,
Thank you, bro.
You're right, Griff, because people like you in the position that you are, you can't afford to be doing stuff like that. They're trying to find stuff on you anyway.
Right, anything.
You don't need to help them.
You know how many times? You know how many times I get that TSA slip in my luggage? They search my bags. I have 80. I had 86 of them.
Wow. 800-450-7876. Go to Cleveland. Joe's waiting for us. He's on line 1. Joe, you want to meet Professor Griff?
Hey, how you doing, Griff? How you doing, Carl?
Greetings.
You know what I heard you say, Professor Griff, is how you were talking about, how the minds were manipulated of our youth and their end goal. You know, so I caught all of that. Okay. As you know, Griff, you've been in the music industry, and I'm sure you've been around film and things like that. Anytime things go over to TV, it captures a different mindset of a person. Right. I was walking through the room, and I think the Grammys, and my daughter was watching. And I looked at this kid. He had to be young. He had to be a rapper, dressed in hot pink. And he had a collar around his neck that was hot pink. Right. I don't care how good he raps. I don't care what message he's trying to present. His image is off cue. Okay? And just like you were making a statement that everything was correlated, and to get to that end goal, they're doing it again. It's like you said, it's just repetition with different circumstances to get to the end result. And that's what they're doing right now with all the, if you look at some of the entertainers that were television stars that moved to the movie industry, you look at the television industry and how much they're paying those movie actors to come back to television so they can put a message out. And we can talk with Empire with, the openness. It's being pushed so hard right now.
Okay, so. And then So let me ask you. So the question you have for me would be what?
Basically, the question is, what I'm thinking is, I followed, and basically where I was going was what we're seeing today. It's the same thing, different circumstances to get to their end result. I think what they're putting out for the youth and some adults is this whole gay thing. And it's not like we don't have it.
So let me ask you, so do you think Lil Nas X, who was the one you're talking about that was dressed in pink, Do you think he was told to come out as being gay or who he is or whatever? Do you think?
No. What I'm saying is that, you know, just like you stated back in the day when you was going in, how certain artists was led. Okay? And then they were, I would say, giving capital to further that agenda without calling any name.
Right.
Because we all know who was
right.
popular. It's the same thing that's going on now.
Right.
You're going to make that guy popular. You're going to put his message out and keep his face in front of you. And he's not representing what the majority of, I would say, the world community, how the world community lives. Am I wrong?
I don't know. Well, when you talk about artists, good brother, artists tend to do, for example, Michael Jackson and Prince decided to present this androgynistic kind of thing about them because they wanted to be accepted on a global scale. Artists may feel that way, but because people are more receptive in the music industry and in fashion and in film to that particular kind of artist, you find artists today that just go all the way to the left. And you might find them from head to toe in pink, wearing a dog collar around their neck and doing some of these other things. They feel that they're just being an artist, and that's their art. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
I
do. I understand what you're saying, but I'm saying just okay. I'm a revert back to how you first in your time era, and then the different artists. Okay, so you had the upper echelon, the ones, the power, the money. Okay, they pick the artists that they're going to exploit because they have that agenda. They're going to constantly do that to keep their agendas going.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay, well,
even though the artist might feel like he's representing himself, you got to believe there's people that, I mean, I don't know 100%, but you got designers and people that, you know, help you with your image and da-da-da.
Yeah, but brother, it's not as cut and dry as you think it is. There's a beautiful sister by the name of Patrice Rushen. That sister is so talented. Jazz artist. But we would never know that because the record label she was on was trying to push her as an R&B artist. You understand what I'm saying?
Forget me nots.
Yeah.
Right. So, but if you go look at the sister's body of work and then it's to see her play jazz, you was like, wait a minute, why didn't they push that? Because they wanted her in this R&B mode so they can make money. Exploitation, the word is in the contract, bro. So they know.
Okay.
Towards the end of a lot of people's contract and deal, this is why they're at odds with the record label because they want to grow.
Thanks, sir. We gotta keep moving.
All right, give thanks.
Baby thing is actually a great performer that you're talking about, Patrice Rushen.
Yes.
Back in the day. She's probably still doing her thing, too.
She's a teacher now. I believe she's at a university, I believe.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Professor Griff, what you were talking about with Joe in Cleveland, what would you say about Tyler, the Creator? Do you see him as a musician, a rapper? Because he was all, you know, he says they didn't know what genre to put him in, even though he won a Grammy. And it kind of felt what you and Joe were talking about because he's effeminate. I mean, he's out of the closet. And, you know, he wins an award. Do you think all of this is part of the same deal that you and Joe were just talking about?
But I think it's a lot easier for Tyler, the Creator, now to come out, so to speak, and do his music, and people believe in him and support his vision. At the Grammys, he tore a page out of Andre 3000's book, and from Outkast, and it kind of worked for him, and that's what young people are seeing now. What can I do? Because I might sound like the next artist. What can I do to get attention, to people to recognize who I am, and this kind of thing? I was just trying to figure out the collaboration between Charlie Wilson, Gap Band, my era, Boys to Men, my era, some friends of mine that I know, and this guy, I couldn't understand the collaboration. Could you?
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, and then the flames and the set with the fire, and then the 100 Tylers on stage looking alike. I couldn't figure it out. I was just kind of confused, so I left it alone.
Were you confused, or did you recognize what it was?
I recognized aspects of what it was, and then I said in the back of my mind, without saying anything to anyone, who gave the green light to this? Like, and who really thought? Like, I even said that about Lizzo. Like, someone really thinks this is really creative. The overweight, fat, loud black woman. It's like, wow. Okay, in 2020, haven't we done this before though? Haven't we been down this road? Yeah, I'm saying, okay, yeah.
We're running out of time, but before I let you go, because I know you sometimes have classes, you've got books. How can folks reach you? Because you do these classes on the internet. How can they hook up with that? What's the latest book that you got out? You mentioned a couple of books, and people, if you're interested in the industry or just want interested in our culture alone, you should pick up that book that Griff is talking about. How can they get a copy?
The book that I mentioned a few times on the air today was The Psychological Covert War on Hip Hop. And they can call me at 678-557-2919 to get the book. And you're right, Carl. I wrote an entire online course called an Alternative Black Studies course that I'm offering to people. And it's a full-on course that people can take at their own pace. They can give me a call at 678-557-2919. Call to get this information to take advantage of being in the course.
All right, thanks, Griff. Thanks for what you do, man.
Give thanks. Really appreciate you, man.
All right, Professor Griff, folks. Can you get those going on?
All right, family. I didn't even think, and just to cap this off, I didn't even think a picture of a black woman with garnish, you know, I'm bad with the English language, so much emotion from people. I've been called, over the last couple of days, I've been called a sellout, a fake ass, whatever. I've been called all kind of stuff, and it's like, from a picture. Alex Little, thank you. From a picture. Thank you, Garner. Thank you for the help. Really appreciate that. No one mentioned my fly ass gear, but they mentioned, it's like, wow, I don't even understand. Y'all help me out, man. Urban X TV, what's popping? Black Didot and Malcolm, I need to talk to you, bro. I'm trying to do this interview with you, bro. All right. I didn't know that it would garner so much energy. I didn't know. Now, wait a minute. Lizzo goes to the Staples Center to watch a game, and her whole gigantic ass is out with some dental floss up the crack. My wife wears a beautiful, beautiful dress with a flesh tone garment underneath, but her leg is showing, and I've sold out. Yeah, I'm trying to understand it. Y'all help me out. I'm just not there yet. I'm just not there yet. I know. Michelle, Renee, I got you, love. Oh, thank you. Urban X TV. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I don't let people dictate to me, especially at this age, on what to wear, what my wife should wear. I love my people. I'm in service to my people, and everybody know that. All right? I got instructions from Quan to have fun that night, and that's exactly what we did, Quan. The first person I ran into that took one of the pictures was Charlie Mack, Will Fresh Prince's partner, and then I ran into Wyclef Jean. Wow. Steel Pulse, man. Took some pictures with Steel Pulse. I ran into some other white artists. It was a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful evening. I had a conversation. I had a chance to have a conversation with Terminator X and Flav. And one of the reasons why I went, did a little bit of press, but I'm back there in April to actually go through the ceremony to get the award. And I really appreciate the Academy for that. Shout out to Deborah Dugan. Shout out to Terminator, Flav. And I just want to ask y'all a question real quick before I get out of here. If they called you to receive the Lifetime Achievement Award, would you go to the Grammys and would you go get the award? Last question, then I'm out of here. Your life that you dedicated to this. House burned down, shot at, sued, poisoned, all of this. Would you go get the award? Someone said no. In your case, hell no. Why don't you? It says, why not? You worked for it. Your people. Monique Thomas said, nope, you wouldn't go get the award. Oh, I don't know what that person said. Younger generations needs to see you as, and you're right, homeschool, that homeschool life. Come on, talk to me. It's a setup. How is it a setup? Because how was I set up? Yes, I would go get my Grammy. I hear you. In your case, no. I need the people that's saying no, tell me why. Don't just make one statement. Talk to me. Somebody said accept the award and drop some serious knowledge. All right. They do not validate you or PE. Okay. Who validates us then? If they don't, who validates us? It's a Lifetime Achievement Award. You're right. It's not just a Grammy. It's a Lifetime Achievement Award for our body of work we did over our lifetime. I would give my flowers while I'm here. All right. You would get your flowers while you're here. Okay, Quan. All right. Now, this is someone calling me. I want y'all to listen to this conversation. All right. Hold on. Peace. This is Professor Griff. What's good?
Yeah, you was good, man. How you doing?
I'm maintaining, trying to be like you. Who am I speaking with?
It's Quadri.
Quadri, man. What's happening with you, bro? Hold on.
Yeah.
Quadri, you got to give me 5 minutes. Let me get off this show. Then I'm going to call you right back, bro.
Okay, no problem.
All right, give thanks, good bro.
All right.
All right. Quadri is Boys to Men manager. Quadri, he manages a few groups. But I got to speak to that brother. For real. All right. Yeah, go and watch the movie. It was really happening. Make it your own. Get that, Griff. All right. Definitely accept it and make a powerful speech. Okay. One thing for sure. Don't take a chop. Are you crazy? stand for when going in this. So it doesn't. So it says you know what you stand for. So when going to events like that, so it doesn't matter. Okay. You earned it, 16 said. You seem to be a target. No passport. No, I have a passport. I think. Hold on, let me show you my passport. After $42,000 worth, I got the passport. Yeah, I got the passport back. And I spoke some things into existence, keeping this close by me. I called to me this whole idea of putting enough money together to pay them people what they said I owed them, which was $42,800 and something dollars. I paid. I went and got the passport back. And so we don't know what else is going to happen. So I keep, look, it's powerful, man. The mind is powerful. You speak certain things into existence, you can make it manifest. And I did. Put the right people around me, and you make it happen. All right? So I did. Anyway, listen, I really love y'all in life, man. Thank y'all very much. I know I'm probably one of the most transparent brothers on YouTube by pulling y'all in and being a part of this. And I do take what everyone says, and I just homeschool life. I listen. Trust me, sis. I listen. Even some of the negative comments on here and even some of the trolls, I listen. I don't go for the name calling thing though. I don't really get into that. I'd rather you make your statement and tell me why you're making the statement so I can grow as a human being. Monique Thomas, I don't know who you are, but I'll be 60 years old. You saying just be careful? Well, I've been careful. That's why, and that's how, Monique, I survived to this day. So thank you. I really appreciate that. But you're kind of overstressing that. You understand what I'm saying? Sammy Clay said, stay strapped. Okay. So, yeah, I got it. I got you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm listening to what you're saying, Monique. I got you. Just to let you all know, I am going. And I'm going to get my flowers while I'm alive. I'm going to get my award. To be recognized in the industry that I did make music in. And I use the music to try to raise the vibratory pitch and the consciousness of the human family. If them people want to say, we're giving this award to you for your participation in Public Enemy and help building a platform so we can educate people, I am going to get my award. If they was offering and giving you the Nobel Peace Prize, would you not go get it? Would you not go get it? I'm going to get it. And I'm going to pick out another dress for my wife to wear to go with me. So, not the blue one. Yeah. But anyway, I love y'all to life. Thank y'all very much. Shout out to Terminator X and his wife, Robin. All right. Shout out to Terminator X. Shout out to Flav. All right. Anyway. He said, I deserve your recognition. Thank you very much. I was going anyway. I ain't get shot at for nothing, poisoned for nothing, kicked out of Public Enemy for nothing, passport snatched, handcuffs on, all that for nothing. I'm like, come on, y'all. Stop, man. Stop that. All right, I got to get ready to get out of here. No mic check tonight. I got some work to do for the Alternative Black Studies course. I'm going to see y'all next Wednesday on the mic check 1212. You might see me before then. I'll be in Michigan doing a lecture for the Black History 101 Mobile Museum. All right. Thank you all very much. I really appreciate it. Shout out to Carl Nelson. Peace, y'all. I gotta go.